And some of you are on this great trajectory, but somehow you're going to figure out a way to sabotage that growth because you're not hearing the hype from your family anymore. You're actually hearing something different. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Araujo, and I want to thank you for joining me today. And as you can see, we have a little bit of a different setup today, right? I wanted to try something different where I'm able to stand and be right in front of you. I realize that sometimes I just need to stand and get that energy out, right? Sometimes I feel suppressed when I'm sitting down with some earphones. I feel like I'm restricted. Today, I'm going all out, and I have the energy, right? I have the energy to go out and give you my best. And that's the whole intention of Mindset Mastery, is to give you my best, to give you the insights that I'm learning as an entrepreneur, as a father, as a businessman, right? As someone who's consistent with this, with working out and being conscious about every decision that I make. And I think we forget sometimes that every result comes from an accumulation of decisions that you decide to make. It's the decisions today that will accumulate over time to give you the end result. And many people have made really good decisions. But what happens is when you make really good decisions for a long time, sometimes the thrill is gone. Sometimes the hype is gone, right? And that is the topic of today's conversation, is the hype is now gone, but don't make the mistake many do, is to make the old new again. And I'll explain what that means to you, but really I start looking at the patterns, like studying human behavior. Like I have a passion for that. Being able to read people by reading my own mannerisms, my own behaviors. I'm able to kind of see where patterns of humans are, right? From my perspective. And one of the things that I realize is that, a lot of us are encouraged. A lot of us get hyped up. A lot of us get motivated by hearing the opinions of others, hearing the feedback from others, by hearing the positive reinforcement by others. And one of the things that has made me very different from where I was at is that I realized that sometimes that hype does go by the wayside. Like you won't get that same type of feedback that you do once you hit a certain milestone for the first time. For example, like when I was training for the Ironman, right? The Ironman 70.3, I would go out and run 13 miles on a Friday, and I would get all this great feedback on social media. I would get great feedback from my friends and people around me. They would say, I can't believe you ran 13 miles on a Friday or on a Tuesday. I can't believe you swam 1.2 miles training for this Ironman. I can't believe you cycled 100 miles on a Saturday just for the sake of getting it done, right? For the sake of training. And I was kind of getting that type of feedback. And I was like, yeah, I'm special. Yes, like I'm doing something that most people won't do. I'm doing things that actually impress others to the point where they're complimenting me. And it feels so good. It feels so good. But what ends up happening is that those that gave you that same type of feedback get used to how you operate on a daily basis. Either that or they get triggered by how you operate on a daily basis. So they go out and look for someone else to hype up, right? Or go out and just disregard your patterns because they think it's temporary. But the reality is that sometimes we have to put it on ourselves, that realizing that we're not always going to get the compliments. We're not always going to get that feedback that we desire. You just have to understand that that's who you are today, and they expect that from you now. At first, with this 30-day challenge, in the first 30 days, everyone's really hyped. Everyone's really gung-ho about it because everyone they run into is giving them the compliments of, oh my God, I can see the difference in you. Oh my God, I can't believe you're so committed. Oh my God, look at the before and after. This is so awesome. But as you continue on this journey, you'll start seeing less and less of that type of feedback because they're used to it now. And a part of them, of the audience that was giving you all these accolades, that was giving you all this hype and all these compliments, feel a little threatened now because you haven't stopped. And in fact, you'll start hearing other things like, hey, when is this going to stop? Like, how long are you going to keep this up? Because you went past the 30 days, which everyone's cheering you on. The 60 days, it might be a smaller group cheering you on, but you still have those. And after 90 days, it's like, oh, okay. It's not as thrilling anymore for them. One, they're either triggered by your action, or two, it's who you are now. They've learned to accept that you're just a different person. And understand that when we get this type of hype, or we fail to get this type of reinforcement, Many people lose hype themselves, and they stop paying attention to the details. They stop paying attention to the day-to-day decisions that they make. And before you know it, they start going and veering off the path that got them those results to begin with. And many times, and here's the bad part about this, many times we don't realize that we've gone so far off the path, we're now living through the same story that we did before. The same story, which is going back to our old patterns, where we subside on our decisions, we subside on our actions, and we go back to how things used to be. That's just part of human nature. That's who we are. We oftentimes go and revert back to the lowest form of habit, which is the thing we've been doing for many, many years. All our childhood, all our adulthood life. And just because we did something good for 60 days or 90 days doesn't necessarily mean it's innately ingrained within our DNA. Rather, it's the stuff that we learned many years prior. The things that our generations before did many years prior. But breaking these cycles is tough, and sometimes it's possible, but for 30 or 60 days at a time, until we lose that motivation, until we lose that hype. And listen, if we're just living for this, the type of results that you're getting for the hype, it's going to be a roller coaster of a life. We all have our extreme highs and our extreme lows. And some people play this game so well. They'll lose the 25 to 30 pounds. They'll make so much money in their business until one day they just stop doing what got them there to begin with. And then they have to dig themselves back out. They have to dig themselves out of the debt. They have to dig themselves out of the issues with the IRS. They have to dig themselves out of the issues, with money in general. Same thing with people that lost the weight. They gradually gain it back, and then they have to fight that same fight over and over and over again. They lose the 20 pounds, right? And then they gain the 20 pounds. They lose the 30 pounds, and then they gain the 40 pounds. It's the same fight, but sometimes they make it more difficult on themselves by gaining more weight so they could make that hero's journey, right? The hero's journey, and be able to now dominate the same fight they've been dominating their entire lives. Like, that is an old story. Like, that's where the hype should be gone. But what would happen if you just kept going? Yes, there's going to be less people cheering you on. Yes, there's going to be less people, right, impressed by your progression. There are. You're not going to get the feedback. I stopped getting the feedback on how many days a week I work out. 6 days a week, nobody's telling me, I can't believe you're working out 6 days a week or 7 days a week, AZ. I can't believe you're doing 2-a-days. Nobody's giving me that feedback. When I first started, it was awesome. You look great. And some of you are yearning for that feedback. So you'll do something to sabotage your progression. Again, like either sabotaging your business so you can go on that hero's journey and build it back up. And what we don't realize is that we're doing things right now that are not in alignment to what got you there to begin with. Part of this process is to sustain growth, is to not only that, but expand on it. I had someone reach out that used to work here for A's and Associates. This individual, right, was on this path, a hero's journey. I mean, they were on this path of getting hyped up. They went from zero to hero. We've heard that before, right? Zero to hero. And they got all this feedback. They got feedback from their spouse. Their kids were proud of them. And they felt so accomplished, they stopped doing those same things that got them there to begin with. And slowly but surely started sabotaging their business. Until, again, they get that wild hair up there, you know what, and all of a sudden, they want to go back on this hero's journey, only to get back to where they were to begin with. You know how much energy that takes? You know how much, emotional, duress that you embark on? By, fighting the same fight over and over and over again? My game is very simple. And it's so simple that I don't even get hyped around it because it's who I am. Right? The next logical step for us was to move into this building. The hype is gone. The hype is gone because now it's my new standard. It's a new level. I'm on a new level, right? We've all heard that rap song, I'm on a new level. And that's the way we got to look at it. But it doesn't mean I'm going to remain on this level. My whole goal is to, what's next? Where am I moving to? Because I don't want to fight the same fight. I don't want to have issues with debt. I don't want to have problems with money. I don't want to owe Uncle Sam a lot of money. Those were old things that I'm tired of fighting. So I put the right system in place. I put the right processes. I hired the right people. Because I want to go to that new level. Because I want to hype myself up. It's not about the feedback from necessarily from others. It's not. And that's what you're riding on. It's going to be hard. You're going to have a hard time like rolling out of bed in the morning. Because all you're doing is just try to get that positive feedback from others when really you just have to reinforce that it's up to you to continue to move on to that new level. And it's hard. Because it's oftentimes the new level is oftentimes new. And when it's new, it's scary. And when it's scary, it's going to require more mental capacity. And when you require more mental capacity, it's going to get you like a little nervous. And some of us don't want that nervousness. Some of us don't want that pressure. I thrive on it. I make one decision, I work towards it, and then I move on to the next. I'm not looking to just sit back and hopefully get the feedback from others. I got to understand that most people can't see what I see. Most people are unwilling to do what I do. I understand that, so I can't expect them to give me that feedback. All I know is that when I go to my mentors and my coaches, they just look at me and say, "What's next?" and "Well done." What's next? Well done. Because the expectation is you're not going to arrive. The expectation is you're not going to stop. And some of you are on this great trajectory, but somehow you're going to figure out a way to sabotage that growth because you're not hearing the hype from your family anymore. You're actually hearing something different, which is, hey, when are you going to step up in this side of your life? When are you going to start showing up for your kids? So as opposed to showing up for your kids and your spouse and for yourself, for your body, what do? Let me go ahead and sabotage my business. Because if we're in a financial duress, then I don't have to do all these other things. We may not see it, but that's exactly what happens. I didn't want to rise up necessarily as a husband. I didn't want to give up my drinking. I didn't want to do this or that. Right? So what do? I would create problems in my own business so that I can focus all my energy on that. As opposed to saying, hey, I'm going to run this business properly, hire the right personnel so I can focus on all the other elements. Because I don't want to play that game over and over and over again. Because guess what? When things were not that great with the business, I got less resistance from my wife, right? For not showing up the way I should be doing at home. I got less resistance. And that's the problem. That when you rise up your standard, as a matter of fact, you get more resistance. And some people are unwilling to take on that responsibility. So they play the same game over and over again. Because to sustain and maintain a healthy lifestyle, that's much harder than just losing the 20 or 30 pounds for 30 days at a time, for 60 days at a time. The responsibility that comes with maintaining that is much greater, and some people can't maintain that, can't sustain that, can't handle that. It's hard. And some of you have stayed, and don't get offended by this, a backpack realtor. All right, a backpack realtor for years, meaning that everything relies on you. You can handle your business through a backpack, and you're proud of it. I look at it differently. I think you should challenge yourself to realize that you're a business, and you need personnel, and you need people to support you grow to the next level. But because you continue to play the same song over and over again, because the hype is gone, you remain there. So you go through this yo-yo and hitting the ceiling on a consistent basis, or maybe just growing incrementally as opposed to expecting big things. Because you're too afraid to take on the debt. You're too afraid to take on the responsibility of having employees. Right? Because the first thing you say is, how am I going to cover that nut? How am I going to cover those expenses, those bills? Well, you're going to have to show up every day. And that alone scares many. Some people would have a heart attack to understand what kind of nut I have to cover every month. But I'm not afraid. Because I'm not just looking for the hype. I'm not just doing it for others. I'm doing it for myself, realizing that I'm here to create something bigger. I'm here to impact others. I'm here to showcase what's possible for you by simply being me. And I'm able to talk to you through integrity because I'm doing it on a consistent basis. Not because just people are watching. And I've seen that. And I've seen that in the pattern with many individuals that joined this 30-day challenge with me. When all the hype's there, everybody's excited, everybody's motivated. But what do you do after 60 days? What do you do after 90 days? And I've seen that pipeline grow smaller and smaller, the group of individuals. Because they can't sustain that. They weren't getting the feedback anymore. It wasn't as exciting anymore. It was only supposed to be temporary. Player just goes. Regardless. Because they understand that this is just a part of who they are. And they can't discover the next level until they're able to dominate the current level. But if we're constantly hitting and going back, we think that we're growing when we're not. We're playing the same song over and over and over again. Making the old new again. And I see this with the different groups. Everyone's excited, everyone's posting, everyone's doing, even in real estate. We see this, hyped up, until a certain point. Then we need some time off. I've been working too hard. My body needs rest. I need to sleep in. My clients have heard everything I said. I don't need to do videos every day. Well, you didn't see through the current level. Maybe you reached the epitome level. So we start eroding the progression by not being detailed oriented. For those of you in the challenge, by eating a little bit more. No big deal. Everybody already knows the hard work that I've put, so we try to live off the results from yesterday. How many times have we done that, right? We're trying to live the results off of yesterday. Not realizing that was yesterday. What have we done today? So gradually, we'll start putting that weight on. Gradually, we stop marketing. Gradually, we stop following up with our clients because we want to go on this hero's journey. I'm going to lose it again. I'm going to build this business again. I mean, that's an exhausting journey, I'll tell you that. And I've lived it. It's much more exciting pushing myself out of my comfort zone on a daily basis. It's much more exciting to be on the edge and being afraid in a different way. Not afraid that everything's going to come crashing down, but afraid of the magnitude of the decision I'm about to make. I can see the growth in my own journey by the caliber of decisions I have to make on a daily, by the responsibilities that I have now versus 5 years ago. The guy 5 years ago can't hang. The guy 5 years ago had no shot, no chance. And I still wouldn't have a chance if I played this yo-yo journey. Let me build it up so I can crash it down, so I can be a hero again. Why don't you just be a hero all the time? Why don't you just be you all the time, realizing that it might be lonely? People are not going to necessarily jump on your bandwagon and say how great you are. I can't believe you lost 30 pounds. That's so awesome. That's the same story you heard last year during this time. Like, how many times do you want to play that song? I want to get to a point where everybody just expects greatness from me. I don't get complimented. I don't. Because that's my standard now. But it's up to you. If you want to feel like a hero to your spouse by playing the same song, then that's on you. Or you could change the story and realize that there's another level. So you get on that new level. And it's always a decision, and it's the caliber of the decisions you make. Just because you dominated the first level doesn't mean you keep playing it over and over again. There's another level. which it means you have to increase your skill sets. You have to increase your mindset, your capacity. What you've already dominated, you already know how to do that. Stop playing that same song for the sake of getting that hype. It's about remaining on the journey and realizing that going to the top sometimes is lonely. I can't tell you how many times during the Ironman training I had to run solo. But I had to understand that's my game. I'm not doing it for the hype. I'm not doing it just because somebody else is hyped. I'm doing it because it's my standard. And it's an alignment of where I need to go. Because I can't expect these great big things if I can't simply accomplish this. So you have to ask yourself, where am I falling short? Because I don't want to play the same song. I don't want to have financial issues again. I don't want to be at the brink of divorce again. I don't. So I have to be aware of my decisions and realize that what I've dominated before, I have to quit dominating that game. It gets boring. I could only play Super Mario Brothers so many times because I already captured the queen. I want something greater. I want something bigger. You can tell my age by that, right? Captured the queen. I rescued the queen. On Super Mario's. It's not the same game over and over. You have to evolve. You have to challenge yourself that, hey, not everybody's going to be like, hooray, you lost 30 pounds. All right. You built a great business. What can you build further from that? Because it's really easy to impress others. But can you do this for yourself on a daily? That's the real battle. That's the real question. Because just like the Do the Word challenge, yeah, it comes in phases, but at the end of the day, it's forever. It's infinite. It's sustaining and realizing that results always come on the back of hard work. And once you get there, it doesn't mean you're going to remain there. And as a matter of fact, it gets harder to sustain that on a daily basis because everything around you is mediocre. Everything around you is trying to drag you back. But if you can break through, if you can have that conviction on a daily, your life will morph to something you didn't realize was possible. I'm a testament to that. And I'm making big decisions even to this day. And this is going to be a fraction of where I'll be 5 years ago. And I told you this 5 years ago. Just watch me. I don't need the accolades. I had somebody reach out just recently. And I'll tell you why I don't need the accolades. It's because I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of. I know the countless hours I put into every aspect of my life. I know who I am. I know where I want to go. These shiny objects, being mediocre just doesn't, it doesn't attract me. I'm different. And so are you. You just got to show more of that on a consistent basis. But I'm going to read to you a message that I got. And I'm going to give you my response of that same message that I got. It says, this person says, you've built an incredible business and life. You'd be a hell of an agent at so-and-so company. If you're ever open to the conversation. What makes him think, right? And that's my first thought. It's like, what makes you think that a company is going to make me? What makes you think that I need somebody's help to go where I need it? Unsolicited help. If I need help, I hire coaches. I put my money where my mouth is. I spent the hundreds of thousands of dollars being, pointed in the right direction. And guess what my coaches tell me? They don't show me something new. They ask me the same questions. What do you want? How are you going to get there? It's simply those two questions that constantly challenge me. This is how I responded. I played that game years ago. It was called REO back then because this particular company is big on recruiting, is big on going out and having these happy hours and these networking events, right? Going out to dinners and doing things that, guess what? I'm just not on that game anymore. I played it for many, many years. And I said here, I played that game many years ago, and it was called the REO back then. The the foreclosure market back then. I would go to all these networking events. I would go to all these fancy dinners. I would go to all these happy hours. And I would drink myself into oblivion, networking for the sake of my business. So I would abandon my family back at home for the sake of business and getting more business. I said I was left burnt out of shape, and drunk. Your company really does not align with what I stand for. What I have now aligns 100%. I'm not in this simply for the money and or security. Thankfully, it just keeps coming my way. So the model doesn't really excite me. Thanks for reaching out. Like, how do you respond to that, right? You see, many people will approach you with their shiny object because they know you're used to this roller coaster where you take on this hero's journey. You burn it down and then you take the hero's journey to build it back up. And as opposed to reinforcing the fact that you're capable of doing it on your own, you just got to watch your patterns. You got to just make a little bit better decisions. They paint this shiny object of there's security. There's more money if you go this route. But when you're secure in who you are, you don't need somebody else to build that up for you. In fact, you'll realize it's all smoke and mirrors. His response, I appreciate the honest feedback. Glad to see you crushing it as always. There was no follow-up type of sales pitch. Why? Because I know who I am. So guess what people with shiny objects do? They go and look for people who don't know who they are, who go through these peaks and valleys, who take on the hero's journey, who love the hype and then dissipate once the hype is gone. One of the things that I love, one of the things that I'm so proud of is that when things shift, we will come out on top. You will come out on top. Because we're doing the things that most people won't do when things are good. We're conditioning ourselves to make better decisions, to make moves. And this is simply to remind you to continue to make those moves. If you've been sliding off, this is a reminder to get back on. It doesn't require more than that. It doesn't require anything elaborate. You don't have to hit a home run today. All you have to do is get on base. All you have to do is hit that single. And sometimes we fear off. We try to swing for the fences. I'm telling you, take a step back. Look at the ball coming your way. And simply do what you've been conditioned to do, which is to swing. Get on base. And don't be that person that gets pulled in by either the hype or by somebody else's shiny object. When you are the creator of all, you are the creator of your own destiny. You just got to remind yourself of that. And it starts with not playing the same song, not going on that same journey you've already dominated. So make those decisions. And don't simply see yourself as that backpack realtor. You're a business. That means you have to be more consistent with everything. So you can get the personnel and the people to support you to go to that next level. And you'll never be afraid of playing that same song because you're always moving up. Not back and forth, back and forth. Let's go ahead and take some feedback here. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. And I got something from Amir here. Why can't you be a hero all the time? What an easy concept, yet sometimes so difficult to understand. Zero to hero. We all want to do that, right? Because we get a lot of hype. But if you're here all the time, you just become that new level and people are just going to expect that from you. And again, that takes a lot of responsibility. To show up on a daily? God, that's tough. But that's who I am. And that's who you are as well. We just got to remind ourselves to stay on that game. And listen, like things will get much greater, bigger than you ever anticipated. Just got to show up and not play the same song. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. Let's go out and dominate the week, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at www.badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.